We like the long-term picture of Amazon's business without question, despite the fact that we're here at about $1 trillion market cap, which is a huge number, admittedly, relative to their market opportunities in the various businesses that they're in, global e-commerce, global cloud. Currently, their business represents, if you look at it on a revenue basis, about 10% of or less of each one of those secular growth businesses. You know, global e-commerce is about a $2.8 trillion business. Like you said, they're doing, or as Bertha said, they're doing about 200 billion in revenues. So, you know, it's a small portion and it's growing quickly. So yeah, I think Amazon can still continue to grow despite the fact that we're at $1 trillion market valuation. And I think investors can still get in if you have a long-term perspective.
Max, I guess it's not just the fact that it's hit this arbitrary target of 1 trillion. It's the pace over the last 12 months, more than doubling. It was at 480 billion 12 months ago, more than doubling over the last year. I mean, is the pace of late too fast? Is it a moment to pause and take some profits?
Sure, look, you're never badly positioned to take a little bit of a breather and pay attention. So Amazon has participated in a market-wide melt-up, particularly led by growth names. That being said, Amazon is much more worthy of this melt-up than a lot of other names that have taken the ride with them. Still only about 5 times, less than 5 times sales. This is not one of the more expensive names out there on a sales basis. Obviously, the PE ratio at 150 plus is still pretty aggressive, but it always was because, kind of only recently have we seen Amazon pivot to the story of having reasonable earnings. Still like the company, still think it has a lot of room for growth internationally, and we're still pretty excited about the pivot into groceries and pharma, where we think there's a lot of room for disruption and a lot of cream for them to skim off the top as they do the usual and compress margins industry-wide.
Let's go into that point a little bit further, because we have seen the Amazon effect play out in the market every time they do get into a new business, and there may be more acquisitions to come. Everybody in the space melts down, and then everybody sort of has a rational reaction. Amazon takes some time, and the other companies like a Kroger fight back pretty aggressively with the business. What is the actual Amazon effect on competitors in a space like grocery or pharma?
Yes, so it's a great question, and we should always remember that, Wall Street prices and attitudes can spin on a dime, but profit and loss statements and market penetrations take patient years usually to effect. So part of what tends to happen is we massively overshoot the sort of time frame on which Amazon will engage a space. Part of why Amazon has been as successful as they are is they're slow and strategic. They test a space for a while, they'll announce it, they'll make forays into it, and then they'll either do something or they'll back burner it sometimes for years. So I remember having these conversations just, by way of cautionary anecdote about what it meant for Netflix when Amazon Prime Video came out. If you fast forward a few years, they're both there, and nothing that's been done from Amazon Prime Video has done anything to dent the Netflix story at all.
Jason, how much credit does Bezos himself get? Is he the greatest business leader out there at the moment?
Yeah, it's hard to argue against the Bezos vision and what he's been able to accomplish. And of course, it's not just Jeff Bezos. He's assembled a team around him that has been, no short of miraculous in terms of transitioning from a bookseller in 1996, 97 that wasn't making any money into one of the largest global disruption engines that we can think of. I mean, to be sure, if you look across the markets that they're trying to get into and the markets that they're currently dominating, the opportunity for this company is truly remarkable. And, they've continued to execute. This is a large cap company with really startup DNA. And Jeff Bezos can be very much credited for making sure that culture remains that way and eschewing the short-termism that is so rampant on Wall Street. And we continue to applaud him for that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot has been said about that, Max. I guess with great size and great power comes great scrutiny. And we're seeing it from both sides now, on Amazon and on Jeff Bezos. Senator Bernie Sanders going after them for not treating workers at warehouses fairly, and President Trump even mentioning the word antitrust issues, and you had the whole post office thing. Is this a real threat for Amazon's business going forward, just the fact that it is in such a political crosshairs and such a polarized environment right now?
So we think probably they survive. But that being said, if you know the history of retail, if you look at what happened to Sears in their heyday, or what's more recently befell Walmart, these companies can sometimes get bigger in the world's perception of them than they get in their own perception. And they try to kind of keep their head down and keep doing what they're doing. When you're as big and as important as an Amazon or a Walmart, you can't do that. You really do have to kind of constantly keep some attention to your public image. That being said, mostly it's sort of voices that folks consider to be either disqualified from their own interests or kind of voices from the woods that have taken on Amazon, other than the traditional retailers. And Amazon has built, unfortunately for them, a little bit of a coalition of sophisticated folks in retail and in politics who are not fans, but thus far that has only been a minor road bump. We don't anticipate it being a big issue in the near future, but it has to be watched, and it could easily become kind of more of a serious issue quickly if we start to see any kind of notion that there's any public pullback associated with these private utterances from public figures.